welcome to Nerd to the Third Power, your one-stop shop for all things nerdy and awesome. I will be your main host for this evening. I am the Cat. Joining me is our resident British person, Skyblaze.
Hey there.
That's a little demeaning, resident British person. Gonzo always says that, but you're so much more than just a British person.
I like to think so.
You're also terrifying.
What? No?
You have threatened to kill us so many times with swords.
What have I done recently that's terrifying?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's the image lingers. Joining us also this week is Brian and Brian.
The resident,
Brian.
The resident Brian. Thank you.
Resident Texan, maybe? I don't know.
Truth be told, there's like 7 Brians at work, so it's so funny to when someone like walks into our lobby, like Brian, and all of us go, "What?" Like just...
I used to work in an office like that. There were 3 Steves and for the 3 Daves. It's like somebody come in and asking for Steve or Dave. It's like, would you care to specify? Can you narrow it down?
I like to think we're just a hidden super team. It's like, when there's trouble, the Bryans are there.
Mobilize the Brian unit. Oh my god. So, how's it going, guys?
Not bad. I've been getting, because it's coming with Christmas, I've been getting quite a lot of work in for DJ stuff, which is quite nice.
Rolling in that money.
It's all rolling in, which is just as well considering my main set of speakers have just died.
Oh.
Shit happens. So yeah, having money, it is good.
I've been off work for like 3 weeks on medical leave, and it's the greatest 3 weeks of my life.
Is your foot actually working now, or have you just given up and had it replaced with a bionic?
Well, I'm still going for Deathlock down the line, but
awesome.
I actually walked in a pair of shoes today, and it didn't
damn.
hurt as much. So I cried out of joy.
Aww.
I was like, "This is amazing!" It was great.
I want to give you a big hug.
It was awesome. Just to be able to walk is awesome. Anyway. So, we have a really great show, or what we assume will be a really great show. We're setting that bar high ahead of us, but we were going to start, as always, with Ask a Geek, and we do have some questions here. We actually have a little bit of a backlog from the Facebook, so I did want to answer a couple of those. The first of which comes from Nick from the Facebook, who asks, knowing that Osamu Tezuka is considered the Japanese equivalent of Walt Disney, which manga artist would you consider to be the Japanese equivalent of Jack Kirby? So I've got to ask, what is Jack Kirby's status so that I know what to compare it to? Am I looking for a manga artist who's vastly overshadowed and screwed out of royalties, or what?
Paging Brian?
Are you asking us? What? I'm sorry, I've zoned out halfway through. What's going on?
So Tezuka is the Japanese equivalent of Walt Disney. So the question is, who's the manga equivalent of Jack Kirby? So I'm trying to figure out what I'm comparing to. So is it just like somebody who drew a lot but got screwed out of their royalties, or what?
I would say someone who has a unique sensibility in creating unique characters that no one else has ever thought of ever coming up with, i.e. mostly the fourth world stuff. Like, so you're looking, maybe it seems batshit insane, but there's a real detailed plan and really cool world behind it.
Can we just keep going with Tezuka?
Tezuka it is. I don't see a problem with that.
Because he was the real pioneer in both fields of anime and manga. I mean, he was the man. He was super the man. I can't think of who would be a good equivalent for Jack Kirby.
Jack Kirby also kind of codified an awful lot of things that later became kind of superhero staples. Things like he was responsible for the New Gods, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. New Gods, Darkseid,
yes.
Highfather, all that kind of good stuff. Also, he did help co-create most of everyone in the Marvel universe, except for like 4 characters. He helped co-create most of them.
And a lot of the things that are kind of considered to be iconic towards them, it's either Stan Lee or Jack Kirby, one of the two.
Yeah, basically.
And,
So is there someone who got screwed out of money?
You know, they're mangaka, so probably all of them, or almost all of them. I'm trying to think of somebody who would really be considered a pioneer of most of the tropes that we see today. But that's really hard. Because, like, a lot of the tropes that we see today, we would credit back to, like, say, Akira Toriyama. But, like, even he had stuff that he was inspired by. So it would probably go back even further. And I just draw everything back to Tezuka. It's tough. I shouldn't have even asked this question because I know I didn't have a very good answer for it. But
But it was there.
Tezuka, but Tezuka's the man. He's really the man. The man with a plan. I mean, there's other really, really, really phenomenal artists out there who were working around the same time as him. But he was the man.
I'm wondering if the guy responsible for an awful lot of the like giant mecha tropes was the guy that wrote the first Gundam story, wasn't he? I'm
Well,
wondering if he's an equivalent.
there's
What's his fucking name? Tomino? Is that him?
I'm not sure because I'm trying to think of who pioneered some of the earlier mecha stuff because mecha was popular long before Gundam came along. Because you have like the not giant robo, but whatever it was called in Japanese, like that sort of stuff. I have to look it up now. Giant robo. Let's see. Giant robo. Something. It ran in the 60s. Oh, man. But stuff like that, I don't have a good answer for you at all. I'm sorry. I bring it all back to Tezuka because he was the man. So, skipping
That's
that.
your answer then.
Skipping that flop of a question. Let's see. Timothy on the Facebook is in sort of a response and a question from our discussion when we talked about Spies and Spectre, says, since Mission Impossible was sadly forgotten in your episode about spy movies, I thought I'd ask what's your favorite in the series. I can't believe we didn't talk about Mission Impossible. That's so hard to believe and yet not hard to believe at all.
Mostly because I've only really seen like the first Mission Impossible film and the bits of the original series. And the reason I haven't seen much of either is because I don't actually find them that interesting.
It's funny because like I attuned that the Mission Impossible like movies, like their stories are kind of dumb, but the action sort of makes up for it. Because yeah, my favorite one's just the one that John Woo directed because one's John Woo, but John Woo in his like most infinite mind said, you know what this movie needs? Fighting motorcycles. You know, like let's do it. Like no one said no. No one said this doesn't seem feasible or realistic. They're like, done. We're gonna have fights and motorcycles.
But the
And
thing
doves.
about the move, and then yeah, the movies have very little to do with the original Mission Impossible series as it is, and they're just kind of like fairly generic spy action movies. There's very little about them that's actually like that interesting, and that's similar, apart from the name and one of the character names, some of the character names. Because it's like a lot of the movies is, you know, it's all about Tom Cruise. And in the series, it was about a team. It was an ensemble cast where, you know, everybody had their own particular ability and they'd apply it in a clever way. You know, they came up with a very overcomplicated plan to do a thing and then carry it out, and, you know, something would go wrong and they'd have to fix it. And it was very formulaic. But the movies don't seem to have very much of that involved. It's mostly just Tom Cruise vehicle.
From a story point of view, there's not a whole lot of difference between a Bond movie and a Mission Impossible film, or say a Jason Bourne film. There's not a whole lot of difference in terms of what they do and how they function. Like, it's a lot of, here, we're going to set up some terrorist thing. Bourne is obviously a little different, but it's still just a lot of the same kind of action. I think there's a little more spy in Mission Impossible, but I haven't actually seen a film all the way through because I'm like Skyblaze. I don't find them that interesting. The action is so, I don't want to say bland, but it's just not super interesting, except for the one where he was like on the side of like the tallest building in the world. Other than that one,
Was that the
I could do without him.
I did watch bits of Ghost Protocol and was just sat there laughing at how
no.
utterly ridiculous it was.
Yeah, Ghost Protocol is stupid. Ghost Protocol is a stupid film. I own that one because they sent it to me for my previous job. And I remember just watching it going, this movie's dumb.
I actually don't know which one is which. I've only seen parts of, I've seen parts of probably all of them, but I've never seen one all the way through, so I don't know which action that I've seen that attributes to which movie. I just remember a lot of running.
They were all very interchangeable, and there's very little about them that is that awesome and distinctive.
Once a movie, somebody wears a fake face as a disguise, and there's a lot of running, and that's what I've seen.
Yep. There you go. Done with them.
So sorry, Tim. We weren't super into Mission Impossible. And I've never seen the series either, like the TV show. So that's that. Tim Murphy, who I believe we've gotten many questions from before, asks, do any of you have nerdy Christmas directions you like to put up during the holidays?
Directions?
Did I say that? Decorations is the word. I should have gotten more sleep last night.
So what you want to do is you want to hang your lights up. Oh, we're good. I'm sorry. I'm going back to the directions.
My favorite direction is step 5, the end.
I do have from Think Geek. I got one of their last 8-bit electronic wreaths that has all the old 8-bit. They can't call them the real names because of legal reasons, but there are rupees on there. There's Sonic rings, and there's the Galaga spaceship and stuff like that. I would usually put that on my front door during the holiday time. That's really the only one I have.
I don't actually really have any geeky decorations. I have gothy decorations. I have black baubles and black sparkly, black and silver, black sparkly snowflakes on my black fiber optic Christmas tree.
Matches your black heart, that sort of thing.
My tinsel is red and silver.
Oh, that's good. It's still very gothy. I love it.
It is, but that's because I'm an enormous pile of goth. I don't know what to tell you.
I
do have a tiny little owl beanie baby on top of my tree.
Is it also black?
No.
Okay.
It's
just checking. Oh, it's a shade of black. My family.
It's an owl. It's grey. I don't.
Is it Hedwig?
No. It's just a tiny owl beanie baby. It should be Hedwig. It's now Hedwig. There you go.
Well, name it Hedwig and it'll count. My family has a rather large collection of Christmas ornaments that light up and make noises that are Star Wars and Star Trek. We have all kinds. We have a little Millennium Falcon, but then we also have Han and Luke. And then we have several ships from Star Trek. We have a Bird of Prey, and we have maybe 1 or 2 of the Enterprises. I'm not even sure at this point how many we have. My mother keeps buying them for my brother as if my brother cares. And then I'm the one who gives a shit and wants them on the tree all lit up and cool looking. So I feel like I'm going to inherit those one day because of my brother's apathy. I have a Hello Kitty one. Oh. And I'm like, woo, yeah, just one ornament. That's for me. Yeah, woo. And that might be it for specifically holiday decorations. The only other thing I have is a purposely ugly Christmas sweater that's Die Hard. Good old Die Hard. It's ho, 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 now I have a machine gun, yippee-ki-yay, and it's got little cop cars and little machine guns on it. It's very tasteful.
No, it's very good, very good.
Okay. Do we want to do any more questions? I have more. Or we can cut it off there.
We can probably cut it off there.
Okay. Because Gonzo actually sent me some, but I wanted to pull the ones off Facebook that have been neglected for a few weeks.
Yeah, so getting those out of the way is pretty good.
Yes. Okay. All right then. And that's all the Ask a Geek questions we have for this week. As always, you can send your queries to the dedicated thread on our Facebook page or email them to drgonzo@nerdtothethirdpower.com. And with that, it's time to move on to the news portion of the show, starting this week with Brian.
Thank you, and welcome to this week's Multiverse Headlines. I only have one major headlines, and I'd like to thank the cat for giving me a nice tip that led me to the Nerdist. We were talking a lot about the superhero shows coming to TV, and especially the Netflix series, and my complete and utter, let's call it annoyance, with the fact that Iron Fist has not made traction while the other three have. But that could change. But it looks like they finally have themselves a showrunner. Yes, so the first step in making the Iron Fist show has been complete. The showrunner they got is by a TV veteran, Scott Buck, who has worked on such shows as 6 Feet Under, Rome, Dexter, Everybody Loves Raymond, and Coach. Two of those don't match the others, but that's beside the point. These are just shows that he worked on, all of which, except for the last season of Dexter, and maybe Coach, I don't remember Coach, were very well regarded. So they have themselves set up a nice, person running the show. But now we still don't have any, casting or filming rumors going on right now. The only other thing is that we do finally have sort of a synopsis of it. The synopsis reads, returning to New York City after being missing for years, Daniel Rad fights against the criminal element corrupting New York City with his incredible kung fu mastery and ability to summon the awesome power of the fiery Iron Fist. So that sounds pretty much like the Iron Fist that we know from the comics itself. Of course, we don't have any idea who might actually be playing him or how they're going to be putting this together or connecting them to the other series. We'll have to wait and find out. By the looks of it, the latest that's coming out is 2017. 2016 is setting up for Luke Cage and possibly Daredevil Season 2. No word yet on Jessica Jones Season 2, but I'm pretty sure that is probably in the works as we speak now. So this is all the time I have for this week. This is at least the only news report I have for this week. So I turn everything over to our anime goddess herself, Kat. Kat, take it away.
Well, after last week's headlines with, 3 dead people, I thought I'd stick to significantly less depressing news, which of course in anime means licensing. Yen Press announced they've licensed 3 Taka Yanatsuki titles, including Liselette and Witch's Forest, Twinkle Stars, and Fruits Basket. Fruits Basket will be based on Hakusensha's recent collector's edition release in Japan, condensing 23 volumes into 12 mega volumes with French flaps and new artwork for the covers. The first 2 volumes will release in June of next year with a new volume every month. Liselette will release in July with a new volume every 3 months. Twinkle Stars has no release date as of yet. They also announced they will simulpub Michizuki Jun's new Memoir of Vanitas manga and Fujimoto Shinta's new Bakano manga. Vanitas will launch in Gangan Joker's magazine starting this month, though it hasn't been specifically stated if the manga will be published here by chapter or volume at a later time. Dunno. Bakano launched in Young Gangan magazine in October, and the first few chapters will be released here before beginning a simulpub in January. Viz Media announced that it licensed Kamiyo Yoko's Crown of Thorns manga, which they will release on December 8th. They also picked up Clamp's Man of Many Faces, which is surprising because Dark Horse has actually scooped up most of Clamp's titles lately. That will release on December 15th. Both titles will be released digitally only. Kicking it old school, Crunchyroll announced that they've added the Jinro, the Wolf Brigade, and Fist of the North Star films. Jinro was originally released in the US by Bandai Entertainment in 2002, and it got a Blu-ray edition in 2007, but Bandai went kaplooey, and the license lapsed. Fist of the North Star was originally released in the US by Streamline Pictures back in the 90s, and recently rescued by Discotek, who released it on DVD last year and Blu-ray this year. Both movies are now available on Crunchyroll, subbed and dubbed for the US and Canada. They also just added Loop on the Third Part 2, which contains episodes 80 through 155. The first half are available now for everyone, the second half are only available to premium members until next week. And they also added the Slam Dunk dub, because old school. And finally, praise be unto our great goddess Hiki. Utada Hikaru will officially return to the music industry with a new album next spring. Utada has been on hiatus since 2011. In 2013, she dealt with the death of her mother. Last year, she married an Italian bartender named Francesco Caliano, and just this past July, she gave birth to a baby boy, so she's kind of had a full hiatus. She contributed a song for one of the Evangelion movies and began hosting a monthly radio program back in 2013, but she never really came back into the limelight. Utada is probably best known to most of our listeners for the Kingdom Hearts songs Simple and Clean and Sanctuary, but beyond that, she's actually one of the top-selling artists in Japan. Her 1999 debut album First Love is still the best-selling album in Japan ever. In 2009, the Japan Times hailed her as the most influential artist of the decade. She's kind of a big deal, is what I'm saying. Apparently, 2 of the songs on her new album will be used in a major live TV series and a news program. Hopefully, we'll be able to narrow down the release date in the hopefully near future. And that's all I've got going on in the anime and manga world. And that's all the news that's fit to hear this week. We're going to take a quick musical break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about some stuff that I promise will be really interesting. We've got a great second half coming up, so stick around. we're back. Today we are going to be talking about what might have been. Things that could have happened and would have been so totally awesome or actually really awful that just never panned out. And Skyblaze was the one who suggested this topic, so we're going to let her start.
Oh God, why?
Because you were literally just screaming during the musical break.
Okay, fine. No. It's just because I just found out that my favourite artist and designer, back in the 70s and 80s, actually designed a bunch of theme park attractions that were never used. If anybody's familiar with the name Roger Dean?
No.
Yes? No? No?
Not off the top of my head.
Do you know the band Yes?
Yes.
Or Asia? He did album covers for them. Like the really beautiful, like sci-fi landscapes. And he's also a designer and graphic artist. And yeah, he did these theme park attractions, which would have been the best things ever.
Man.
Now, were they just theme parks in general, or we're talking like Walt Disney or Universal Studios?
It doesn't say specifically. It just says theme park attractions that were never used.
That would have been really
I am
cool.
so sad.
I just found out that my city, I live in St. Louis, was supposed to have gotten a Disneyland. Or at least they
I
were
heard about that.
they were going to build one, but the taxpayers wouldn't foot the bill for it, so it never got built, and thus St. Louis missed out on probably billions and billions of dollars of tourist revenue.
Well, eventual tourist revenue. You would have
Yes.
to, because you'd have to make up the money spent in the first place. But
Yes.
if it's Disney behind it, I'm sure that eventually would have gone through for you.
Instead, we have a Six Flags that is...
Six Flags. I work across the street from a Six Flags. Nice people, but you're also a Six Flags. I get a free fireworks show, so I really shouldn't complain.
My mom used to work at the Six Flags in St. Louis, and it hasn't had much updating since.
Well, that sucks that Roger Dean couldn't it sort of makes you think, going like, what were they going to? Were they rides, or were they just gonna be trippy sort of artwork you get to walk through? Because that would just been cool on its own.
Yeah, I could live with that.
Yeah.
But if it have been, I mean, I can imagine him doing something a bit like for those that know Alton Towers, anything like what Nemesis ended up being, with the kind of Eldritch Abomination theming of the idea behind Nemesis, the kind of story theming behind it is that it's an Eldritch Abomination that was buried underground, and in order to kind of keep it pacified, they built a roller coaster on top of it.
Yeah,
Because
that doesn't sound like a bad idea.
That's not a bad idea at all. And I can see him creating something like that, because he's been known to work with like massive fiberglass constructions and things. If you look up the Relayer tour that Yes did in the 70s, he designed all the set dressing for that, and it looks fucking amazing. It took like 6 vans to move it, but still. Looked amazing. And I'll fight anyone that says otherwise. But yes, moving on. Next.
Moving on.
Anyone else?
I don't know. You introduced us to the wonderful world of tvtropes.org/whatcouldhavebeen pages. So, we're gonna
all week.
You say that like it's all my fault.
It is, because I
Well-
avoid TV tropes like the plague, because I know for a fact the moment I go on that website, I blink and I miss at least 3 days. Because it's really cool information that I'm trying to copy down and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, that's kind of neat, and I don't know. You should.
And then you end up with like 40 million tabs open, and,
yeah. Just following.
and then all
them
of a
through.
sudden it's 6 a.m. and you're like, what the hell happened?
Work's calling me like, you've been missing and no one knows where you are. I'm like, I'm sorry.
The police are at your door.
You emerge into the sunlight blinking and find out that the authorities have declared you legally dead. That sort of thing.
It's just sort of one of those things. But I guess since you kind of you reignited some of the things that happened in the comic book world, and we actually were talking about this before the show, and I knew this was never going to happen. But after they did the Marvel vs. DC miniseries, when the two companies actually used to work together, before that completely fell apart, There was the idea that there were trade characters of Wonder Woman and Daredevil. Like Wonder Woman would be in the Marvel universe for about a year, and then Daredevil would be in DC universe for about a year. I think they're going to do the same thing with Flash and Quicksilver, but I mean, this all got nixed because of copyright issues. But here's the thing: Daredevil being in the DC universe would be boring because he would just get in arguments with Batman all the time. Like that's all it would be. Because he's a lawyer. He's like, you know how many laws you're breaking? He's like, shut up. I don't care. I'm rich. And, and then he's going to take him to court. And, like, not the best stories in the world. Though they've actually crossed over at least 2 times? I want to say 2 times. 2 times. Yes, I'll say 2 times.
Is this before or after Amalgam?
This, actually, the Marvel vs. DC one is actually what led to Amalgam. So this would happen.
Lord.
This would happen after Amalgam.
Because, Amalgam had some interesting ideas, but for the most part, you just spent the entire thing going, what?
I don't know for a fact, but there was probably a little bit of a recreational drug involved in some of those stories. Actually, probably a lot of recreational drugs.
Yep.
But Wonder Woman being in the Marvel universe, now that's probably something going to be a little bit interesting. Like, because she's a very, very different character.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I could see her not, she could be, like, the leader of the Avengers within a day. Like, everyone's like, she's way better than all of us. Like, Tony's like, I'm out. Let her go.
When he wasn't kind of going, like, can we go on a date? No.
She's like, no.
Please, no. Please, no. Please, I swear I will break your spine. Fine, okay.
He's like, it'll be totally worth it. She's like, oh, god damn it. She just stares at like Spider-Man. You put up with this? Well, he's got a lot of money. So like,
in fact, I can just imagine her and Spider-Man and just like hanging out.
Oh yeah, and also like her.
That would be the funniest thing.
Her and Storm were like BFFs forever. Like
Oh yeah, so hard.
So like, I mean, it's one of the, and it sucks that because nowadays almost every comic company hates every other comic company. So these crossovers, these inter-universal crossovers, are so rare. It's such a definitely great missed opportunities left and right by them. And I would love to see somebody just fucking bury the hatchet and get this back rolling together. Because you could probably make way more money together than you probably could separately.
We're at the point where that's kind of what fans want. I mean, never mind the Marvel, DC, like, diehards. But if you were like, yeah, I'm going to have Batman fight and then name any Marvel character, people would just, like, dump their wallets. They'd be like, take it. I don't even want it.
It doesn't even have to be fighting. I'd pay quite a lot just to see these characters, team up together and fight bad guys and snark at each other endlessly.
Yeah, and a lot of it is just because the people who are in charge can be a little bit crybabies.
Oh my god, can you imagine Wally West Flash and Spider-Man?
Oh good, oh god. Nothing would ever, like, they would save the day, but no one would ever take them seriously, which is the best part.
Nope. I know, right? It would be the best.
Yeah, because there was actually there was actually an X-Men Teen Titans crossover or New Teen Titans crossover that was actually really good. Like, it was a really good series, and they were going to do like a sequel to it, but Jim Shooter had some sort of like the TV Tropes says he had a temper tantrum, which is actually being really nice of being a whiny piss baby, and it got nixed, and that is the only reason no one's doing them, is because people upstairs in the offices can't get along with the people across the street in the offices. The fact there's a Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle crossover seems like a godsend, and the room goes quiet.
No, just kind of considering that. Yeah, I can see where you're going from there.
Yeah.
Are there any like of these things where it's like, we're saying like, oh, wouldn't that be awesome? It's like, any of these you've heard about where it's like, oh my god, why didn't this happen?
There might be a couple. I just can't think off the top of my head, because it's hard. It's hard when you hear about a canceled series that did not come out, because a lot of times people say, well, that's one of the best things in the world, but you're sort of assuming that it will be good. Like, you don't really know. It's one of those just like, I will give the best version of it or anything like that. I'm I'm gonna have to think back because I don't. I know for a fact
I
at
just-
one point
I
Captain.
just remember. Sorry, dude. I'm just remembering you talking about that bloody. Was it that Dazzler film?
Yes, there was the.
That was the most insane thing I've ever heard about.
Oh my god! Yeah, I would have paid so much money to see that, good or bad, the Dazzler film, just because it would have the Village People versus Kiss.
Oh my god. Can we have this? I need this.
Like,
Yeah, they never made it.
They never. And the best part, you can find some of the scripts and the outlines online. And the best part is that they didn't, because they were supposed to be Dazzler, Spider-Man, and Wolverine, and Captain America. They were all supposed to be in it, but they never casted them. So, like, when they were talking about it in the outline, instead of, because when they would cast everyone else, they would tell who they were, character, and who was playing them. But for them, they're like, yeah, just, Spider-Man, Wolverine. It's like, well, who's supposed to play these characters?
Yep.
I don't even know who they had for Dazzler, to be honest with me. Honest with you. There was. I would love that. What could have been? That could have just easily kickstarted the movie franchises, the superhero franchises early, or killed it before it began. There's only two ways that can go.
I'm personally betting it would have been the latter, but I'm cynical about these things.
Well, we have every reason to be.
You could always. Another ones you can always talk about what happens if Jason Todd didn't die.
Oh, wasn't it? It was a vote, wasn't it?
It was a vote, but then early trolls they did they just called the number several times over, so that's how they end up killing him off. Because there was no way to count where phone numbers were coming from because it was just a 900 number. So they're like, yeah, kill him. I'm like, all right, he's dead. And like, oh shit, they listened.
My God, I don't know what to do with this kind of power. It's almost like I need responsibility.
Have you ever wondered they've never done it again? No one's ever done that again?
Even though there's better ways of actually tracking it now.
Yeah, now there's super better ways of tracking it.
Now they would just do an internet contest and then have to figure out a way to not have trolls there.
Good luck with that.
Right?
Yeah, because as soon as 4chan hears about it, you kind of up a certain creek without a certain implement. But yeah, one of the ones that's been pissing a lot of my friends in my role-playing club off recently was the cancellation of the World of Darkness MMO.
Now, which one's the World of Darkness one?
World of Darkness is Vampire the Masquerade, Mage of
okay.
the Ascension, so on and so forth.
Yeah, because I'm not
that
familiar.
universe.
Yeah, I'm only partially familiar, I guess.
It was White Wolf, the publisher of the damn thing, was bought out by, I forgot what they're bloody well called, the people that make Eve.
Oh, yes, them. I don't remember.
Them, yeah.
Those guys.
Yeah, I do know what they're called, but I've forgotten.
Sound off in the comments.
But yeah, it was CCP. That's them.
Never mind. Don't sound off in the comments.
Yeah, it's the CCP bought up White Wolf mostly because they wanted to make this MMORPG, and they were going to make it for the World of Darkness and have all of the various different supernatural creatures that you get in the World of Darkness. So mages, vampires, werewolves. I don't know if they were going to have wraiths, but they were going to have all sorts of other stuff in there. Changelings, all that sort of business. Now, problem with this is that you're talking about like very, very different paradigms for characters with very different abilities and very different kind of levels of power. Because it's kind of like, a human hunter is beat up by a vampire is beat up by a werewolf is beaten up by a mage. And that was how it works. So how they were actually going to do this was always a bit in question. And how it was going to actually work with things like, the vampires needing to feed and the fact that werewolves, and any time they see a werewolf sees a vampire, they try and kill them. How was this going to work? And CCP never really seemed to have an answer. And then I think it was only either beginning of this year or end of last year they announced that it was cancelled. So you bought up and cancelled a lot of RPGs that people really enjoyed, in order to make make an MMORPG that you then never made. Please
Wow.
explain.
Dick move.
The publishing arm has subsequently been bought by, I think they're called Black Island or something like that, publishing, and they're making 20th anniversary versions of the original things like Vampire the Masquerade and Mage of the Ascension and so on and so forth. But it was just so unnecessary, and nothing was ever really produced other than, I think there was like a few screenshots and some test footage. And they've had this for, I don't even know how long. A really fucking long time. Let's put it that way. It was just so frustrating for something that was so worthy of being made, and that, if they weren't going to do anything with it, they should have just let it go long before now. So irritating. So annoying.
That kind of thing happens a lot in the anime industry. I can't think of a title off the top of my head, but during the boom, or the bubble, like, anime titles were being bought up by companies just so other companies wouldn't get them. Which
Really?
is such a dick thing to do.
Oh dear.
A lot of not a lot, but some like big companies like Warner Brothers and them have bought up rights for movies that they keep saying they're gonna adapt, and then they never get around to, like Death Note, for example. Well, Death Note's actually happening now, God, but
Wow, the pain in that voice.
it could have just not happened, and that would have been for the best. But no. But like, so Death Note or Cowboy Bebop, the live action Cowboy Bebop film that has, for like, I don't know, like 10 years they've been saying they're going to make one, and somebody is just sitting on the license, not letting anyone else have it, but not making it either. Because they buy up these licenses thinking that it's going to be the best thing ever, and then they realize that, first off,
It's
the
actually
fans...
really hard work.
Yeah, like the fans will never be happy no matter what, period, exclamation point. And it's going to cost them so much more money they could ever imagine. Like, that's been Akira's stalling problem, is terrible scripts that make the fans unhappy, and then the atrocious amount of money that it would take. And nobody's willing to bankroll it. So a lot of these kinds of projects have gotten stalled.
Because they bought it up reckoning that they could just chuck out whatever.
Right.
And
Like,
then
there's...
just rake in money, and then they realise, no, this is actually going to be hard work.
Like, James Cameron is a great example, because he must have at some point in time read Battle Angel Alita or saw it or something and thought that it was really great, and is like, I'm going to make this into a movie for Hollywood, and bought up the rights and then sat on them forever. I think he's still sitting on them. Like, I think he's finally going to start doing something with it, but like, nothing's come of it. So we have a lot of those kinds of things. They are starting to actually make some of these now, and that's kind of disappointing, because I'd rather have them not happen and potentially be good than happen and then be terrible. And everything that they've done so far has been pretty terrible. I haven't seen the live action Kite that they made with Samuel L. Jackson, but I also know that I don't ever want to see it at all. At all.
Yeah, I was going to say, have they actually managed to do anything that's been half decent so far? That's a big fat no, isn't it?
Nothing directly adapted from an anime or manga has gone really well. There's stuff out there that a lot of people don't realize comes or has its basis in anime or manga or a Japanese production of some kind. But the only thing that I can think of is what was that movie? The Live, Die, Repeat, The Edge of Tomorrow. That did pretty well, and that was based off of a Japanese novel, I think.
Okay.
I think that's been the most successful thing that wasn't, like, trying too hard or not trying hard enough. It was so different that I'm sure it doesn't even remotely resemble what it's based off of. And so, like, they're finally making the Death Note movie, and they're being super, super secretive about it because every single piece of news that got out about, like, potential casting or potential script was just panned so hard by the fans that, like, it went back onto the back burner for, like, another 4 years.
Which,
so now they're
you
being
think they'd
super
actually,
secretive.
instead of just making it really secretive, they could have just made it not shit.
Yeah. Well,
There's a
we could have an
revolutionary
entire
idea.
discussion about the problems that fans have with adaptations, specifically adaptations from one culture to another, because there's huge issues like whitewashing and racism and all this other stuff that goes into it. So it's a much deeper discussion. But basically, a lot of stuff just gets licensed and then never put out. So there's a what might have been. We might have had Ashton Kutcher as Light from Death Note, but we're not. So
There is a god.
there is. And we almost had, or for the long time, the rumor was Keanu Reeves as Spike in Cowboy Bebop.
Now, to be fair,
I could almost see that.
I could almost see it too.
I
Actually, I could very easily see it.
yeah, now I'm sort of a Keanu Reeves apologist, so like
too.
I wouldn't
Because
be
he is
against.
because to be fair, he is the, like, in real life, he's supposed to be the nicest guy in the history of the world.
Yeah, and a vampire.
Yeah.
Immortal.
But like, so it's like I wouldn't. The problem would be like, all right, so you get Keanu, but who else? You know, what else is going on in that film? That never did, in fact, happen. I bought this movie called Battleship Yamamoto.
Yamamoto, yeah.
Yeah.
Yamato?
Something
Yamato.
like that. I'm terrible.
Yamato.
Yeah, I
it's a
got it
really
at-
famous ship.
Yeah, I got
Actual
it
ship.
at one of my used bookstores. I was on a treasure hunt and I saw that there, and people were like, you should. I remember someone saying like I should look at it or buy it, and it was on. I was like $5. Like, yeah, I'll take it. Blu-ray $5. Done. I was so confused because I didn't know it was a series before a movie. So
Oh my God.
obviously things were missing. I was like, this felt like there should have been a really lot of character development going on, and now everyone's dying.
Was it the one of the animated films,
No,
or was it
this was
the live action? Yeah. Okay. So, to go back to the whole who is the Jack Kirby, like the Yamato series, like that whole franchise is the Star Trek of Japan, where it's like the space opera that is the grandpappy of all other space operas in Japan.
Okay.
It's very famous. But not here. There, yes, not here so much. But that's where you get like your Queen Emeraldus and your Harlock and your Galaxy Express 39. All of those all come from that, basically.
Okay, it's just one of those weird things I picked up when I go treasure hunting.
Well, I think they made more than one live action film for that. Japan is great about it. They're like, hey, this is popular. We're going to make this. And they just fucking get it done. I mean, for some stuff, like, there's so much shit that gets left out. Like, so much stuff that they could have done in certain manga that never happened. So many characters that never got built up. See, at least in comic books, when they realize that there was an opportunity that they missed, you just know they're going to retcon it anyway.
Retcon it, or what if story it, whatever. They kind of like, yeah, sure, this, because most of the what if stories are in imaginary stories or Elseworld titles. They're just people going, you know, what if this happened? Basically, what we're talking about. What would happen if this would be this?
What if they were all zombies? Like,
Oh God, don't get me started on fucking Marvel zombies. A one-note story has like 12 sequels. How the fuck does that happen?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Because zombies sell.
They do that a little bit in Japan because there's OVAs and there are what if stories that branch out. And Attack on Titan.
I have 2 words, and they are Tenchi and Muyo.
Oh my god, Tenchi. Yeah, guilty. They tend to do it more in manga than in anime, and Tenchi is a good example of them doing it in anime.
Yep.
And they're like, hey, what if everything was exactly the same, but slightly different.
Which,
What
if like I was about 10 years or so ago when I was trying to get into all of this stuff, and it's like, I watched the first set of OVAs for Tenchi Muyo and we're like, this is really fun. And then it was like, I think it was Tenchi in Tokyo came on next, and I was like, what the fuck?
Tenchi
What
Universe.
is this bullshit?
So
And then I stopped
terrible.
watching.
And then they did like Pretty Sammy after that, and you're like, no, stop. Attack on Titan is one of those kind of what ifs. Also, the Fate Stay series, like Fate Stay Night and all of those. They just keep making them and making them and making them with slightly different outcomes, and those are based primarily on the Fate Stay games. And the different directions you can go in the game. So it kind of makes sense for that to have multiple reasons. Like, a reason to make multiple shows is, oh, we're going to follow this line, and this follows this character's story, and this follows this other character's story. And that kind of makes sense to me. And I like that they're doing that, even though it's mostly the same characters over and over and over.
Speaking of kind of things that they keep doing and kind of stories they keep telling, in the Transformers universe. Shall we talk about the various things that could have happened in the Transformers universe and didn't?
Well, which universe are we sticking to? What's been like the most recent? What happened in G1? What Armada was supposed to look like before they brought it over, and not finished animating in it yet?
Well, we could continue from the anime thing and talk about Armada and Cybertron and whatever the other fucking one was.
Cybertron, because as a fucking fanboy, I watched all three.
I'm very sorry. Is there anything I can do?
It's okay. I got the OG series on DVD. I just kind of put them in every so often.
So I actually watched Headmasters. Where Jesus, oh my god.
Hold on, because for some reason I feel like I have to defend this series because another one of my friends was like, "Brian, this series is stupid." I'm like, "Yes, but it's fun, stupid. It's fun.
Okay.
It's way
Galvatron
honestly,
has
way
Galvatron
better than
has
Super Godmaster Force.
Galvatron has an actual plan to merge with Cybertron, and you see a picture of Cybertron with his tiny little arms and legs and head on it.
That's hilarious.
That's stupid.
It's stupid funny, not funny, but stupid funny.
And yet everybody is taking this really seriously in the episode. And you sat there going,
Have you seen the other
all
plans
high?
they've made?
Are you all actually high? Have you all been on the high grade Energon? What the shit is going on? But actually, I was going to mention the Transformers Universe game.
Oh,
Did you know about this?
No, I've never heard of
Was
anything.
this a mobile game?
No,
Was it an actual game?
this was an MMO
Go on.
being developed by Jagex.
Do tell.
Jagex, who developed RuneScape, were going to make a browser-based MMO based on Transformers. I saw the presentation they did back in, I think it was 2010. It's either 2010 or 2011 at a Transformers convention called Auto Assembly in the UK. And they were kind of handing out t-shirts and lanyards. I have some very nice Transformers Universe lanyards kicking around. And they made a big deal about this. You know, you kind of working for the established characters, and you'll be able to customize your own Decepticon or Autobot. And it'll be an MMO, and you'll do missions, and be able to get customized weapons, and blah, blah, blah. And later on, we're going to introduce like expansions where you can have beast modes, like Beast Wars. Everyone was really into this. I was like, oh, this sounds amazing. And they said, when is it going to be released? And they said, probably autumn next year. Okay, that sounds fair enough. Autumn next year rolls around, and we hear nothing. Spring the year after, so we're up to kind of 2012 at this point, rolls around, and they release some test footage. Okay. We get to autumn of 2012. And there's a few more. There's like a brand new spanky shiny website, and some more test footage, and a teaser trailer thing. But like, you guys are kind of being very slow about this. I think it got to like 2013 when the bloody thing was finally, I say released. It wasn't an MMO. It was, well, to call it anything other than a PvP battle arena would be to exaggerate the case. And you couldn't customize your character. You had a character that you played, and that was it. So it kind of bore more resemblance to something like Heroes of the Storm or League of Legends. So really not what was advertised. In fact, some people have said it was about 10% of what the original design spec was going to be.
What the fuck?
And it never got out of beta, and it was cancelled the year after.
Wow.
There's some background story to that one that we have no idea what just happened.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely there were some fights, I imagine, and some firings.
The fans were not happy.
Yeah.
Not in the least. So it was like all fired up for this MMO because it's so Transformers is so perfectly suited towards that setup. You've got two factions. You've got your faction leaders. You've got people you can take missions from. You've got a bunch of planets and areas that you can use. There's a whole bunch of expansions you could introduce. Whole like fuckload of characters, lore, backstory, all this sort of interesting stuff that you can do, and they just entirely binned it. How do you do that? Considering they've already made a successful MMORPG. How do you screw this up so badly?
Like I said, there's a backstory that we have no idea about that
Incidentally, if anybody
turned that way.
Yeah, if anybody does know anything about this, then do tell me. Do kind of sound off in the comments about it, and if anybody's got any more information, because I'd be fascinated to hear exactly what the hell happened and how they managed to screw it up that badly. But yeah, there you go.
There you go. Yeah, and that happens a lot in video games too. Because almost, I remember the Mega Man. They're going to make a Mega Man like custom, like a Mario Maker, but for Mega Man. Like this is way before Mario Maker. Like make your own levels and stuff like that, and insert characters. And then that got tossed to the side. Now that's because Capcom was losing money and didn't know what the fuck they were doing. We kind of know that backstory. But like yeah, that happens I think a lot in video games where the project just gets out of control and just almost implodes on itself.
Jesus.
Well, he wasn't involved.
Otherwise, it would have happened correctly.
There.
Well, the number of video games that you hear about this happening. I mean, Sonic 2006 of all sodding things. The original kind of a lot of the original stuff that was supposed to be in Sonic 2006 was really awesome. Some of the early tech demos, you're going back to 2005, I think it was an E3 demo. With things like it would have a really awesome physics engine. There'd be a active day and night thing where the kind of sun would go up and down as you depending on the time. There'd be a free roaming mode where you could just wander around the levels as I think it was as any character, any playable character, and collect stuff. There was going to Supersonic was going to be playable. Like old school, be able to just wander around the levels as Supersonic. And there was at least one very early trailer, that looked totally different to what we ended up getting. And it looked amazing, and it looked really interesting. And some of the stuff that they could have done was going to be awesome, but it ended up being rushed for both the anniversary and for Christmas. So it just got entirely thrown under a bus. Thanks for that. Yeah. Oh, there was also going to be a game that was going to be based on Sonic Sat-Am.
Really?
At one point.
I've never heard of that.
It was Sega America, so Sega Technical Institute was going to make it for the 32X. but it got canned very early in development. And let's not talk about Sonic Extreme because I will cry. Bitter, bitter tears.
Speaking
Although-
of tears,
Go on.
so once upon a time, some group was actually going to make a live action American Sailor Moon.
Wow, really?
Wait
Oh
a
my
minute.
God.
Is this who I
You can-
think it is?
You can still find a trailer for it somewhere. Somebody illegally recorded at a convention like forever ago. But it was basically going to be like a similar premise. I think it was going to be like half live action, half animated. Like they were going to turn into cartoons and do all the action.
Okay.
This is what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, no, and they were gonna actually like be more like, because they're the Sailor Century, but they were actually gonna be sailors. Like they were gonna have like little boat things that they would like glide around on, and it was like the dumbest looking thing.
I
Oh
want
my
to
God.
see this now, just so I can piss myself laughing at it.
No, it's so funny to look at now. It looks like, it's super 90s. Like you're like, oh my God, this is the most 90s. They all had like whatever their super American white girl names were. And oh Lord, it made like the Deke dub look stunningly good.
What
It
was
looked
what,
so
there,
bad.
wasn't there? Is the Deke dub where it was like they all had different names and they all sounded like they were on helium?
Well, I mean, Deke started it. I don't know.
No,
I think...
there was another one I heard about that was going to be. It was either optioned by somebody or something like that, and it was going to be kind of like, I mean, the Sailor Moon was kind of like localized quite heavy-handedly, but it was okay for the time. This
Yeah,
was
for
like
sure.
so much worse. This was like 4Kids level of heavy-handed localization.
I don't know, because sometimes the stuff gets dubbed still in the U.S. or Canada, but it's dubbed specifically to ship out to other countries, other English-speaking countries like Australia or somewhere else that needs an English version. I don't know. I mean, Deke was pretty awful. Super, like they changed all the names and everything. It was not good. But so this live action thing.
It took me so long to actually
Ugh.
figure out what people's names actually really were, because I saw the DIC dub first.
Yeah. Ugh.
Oh well.
In retrospective, they did the best that they could for the time. Like a lot of the names make sense for why they chose those names.
Yeah,
most
I mean,
of them,
Serena-
definitely not all of them.
Yeah, Serena makes perfect sense, and
Yeah.
Ray is fine. Some of the others, I'm like head scratching, but
From name meaning, Darian Shields is a decent name for Mamoru because the etymology is pretty similar for what the name actually stands for and means. Some of the names don't make any sense at all. And there's heavy editing in the show. Yeah. But just think we could have had them like in the US with stupid names and half cartoon, half live action. Dear God.
at some point I'm going to look up this trailer because I'm just that would have been amazing.
This was like one of the few things I saw like years upon years ago. So when you start talking about it, I was like, is this the same thing I looked at? And I was
Oh
like,
my God,
and when you
yes.
explained to it, I was like, it is.
So bad looking.
Just imagine if that did air, like how much that would have set back Sailor Moon coming to the States.
Oh man.
Like decades worth, I would imagine.
I don't know. Maybe it would never have come. And if Sailor Moon never came to the United States, the anime scene would not be what it is.
No, this is a ripple effect.
Is this the? Are you talking about the one that was going to be made by Saban?
Probably, yeah.
It was going to be Saban. There was another company involved. It was like a joint effort because the first company was too small to do it on their own. So I think Saban was going to help the budget with the live action part, and then they were going to do this other company was doing the animated part. Like I think that's what I remember.
I think it is that. I think
Yeah.
Saban was going to do the live action parts. Ugh.
Good. Jesus. Yeah, I think I found that trailer.
All right, everyone who's listening, just take a time, pause the podcast, watch the trailer, come back, and then be mad at us for introducing you this in the first place. To which at this point we say we're sorry, but not that sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
Because misery loves company.
It's true.
So that could have been the worst thing ever. That would have had a really, yeah. You're right. I don't know if Sailor Moon would have come over. Although it's possible.
Oh dear Lord! I'm just looking at this.
It's possible it would have been so bad it wouldn't have lasted for very long anyway, and then people would have forgotten about it and then brought Sailor Moon proper over.
It's like Sailor Moon as done by that created He-Man Filmation.
With a little bit of Babysitter's Club in there. That's
Yeah.
what it feels like.
Or something like Saved by the Bell. This
Oh
is
my God.
hilarious. This is
guys-
the best thing. I need to show this to everyone I've ever met.
We'll try and remember to drop a link somewhere so that you guys can look at this because it's simultaneously hilarious and horrifying. It's hilarious to look at now. It's horrifying that we could have actually gotten this.
That's true.
So on that note, because we've almost been
So
recording for an hour.
we've covered things that we're really glad that never got made.
Yeah. Well, there's some things we were a little sad about, but this one was one of the ones going, yeah, we dodged the bullet here.
Whew. Phew. And we're just about out of time for this week's episode. You guys should sound off in the comments and let us know what you guys think would have been really awesome to have happen. Some project that was canceled, or what would have been really awful if it had happened. Just let us know in the comments because we're interested in hearing. And that is all the time we have this week. I think we're coming back for
Star Wars.
Star Wars. So we're not going to be recording next week. We will be back the week after to talk about The Force Awakens because there's no way we can't talk about it. And then I believe we're going to go on our little holiday Christmas break. So just be prepared for the future. And as always, I'm the cat.
I'm Skyblaze.
I think we accidentally broke Skyblaze a little bit with that Sailor Moon, so I'm Brian. We have to reboot the Skyblaze.
What? No, I'm here. I'm Skyblaze. Yeah,
Anyway.
sorry, I zoned out from. Yeah.
From sheer horror. Anyway, Taka, play us out.